Mitch from sportschatplace.com and pickdogs.com. Got Steve Monahan and the Puck Dogs with me. We did the first half of the NFL draft, first round yesterday. Today we'll do the second half of the first round of the NFL draft. We had some, it's been more analysis than actual, this is who's going to get taken here and stuff like that. It's kind of, you know, certainly not an exact science, to the NFL draft, not even close. But we kind of have an idea as to who the players are going to be in that top 100 or so players. But once you get into the middle of the first round, or even a couple picks in most years, true to form goes out the window. But anyways, we have no power here. We're running on backup, so my wife was telling me to do all this stuff, so we can save power. But it's like now the show has started, so I can't do any of this. So I might have to go off camera for a little bit.
You still live in Hawaii?
Yeah, well, it's my least favorite of all holidays. Everyone has a favorite holiday and a least favorite. And to me, Easter is the least favorite. I'm not going to get into the reasons why, but I just think that everyone has their reasons, but Easter always my least favorite of all of them. And Thanksgiving, of course, is my favorite. But anyways.
I'm not a ham guy, so I'm not a fan of Easter either. It's like, why do we always got to eat ham?
See, I don't get into religion and politics on these shows or on our websites, but I do think that Easter, to me, is, of all the holidays, the instant religion holiday. It's like all of a sudden the world is, the people that celebrate Easter become these most religious people in the world when, it's like they'll basically steal your wallet on the other 364 days out of the year. It's like all of a sudden it's like, like all of a sudden it's like we got it out, right? It's like, and most people know that one thing I hate in life, regardless of religion, politics, any of that other stuff, sports, opinions, life in general, is inconsistency and hypocrisy. And I think Easter brings it out. It just brings it out of the woodwork. It's the day I don't go on Facebook generally. It's not. I don't even say it's the only time they go to church. It's you can go to church or not go to church or any of those things. To me that doesn't really matter. It's like if you're no matter what religion you are, it's when you go to your house of worship for that hour a day or hour a week, or some religions it's 6 hours a day or whatever the case may be. That's your safest time, right? That's your time where it's like, well, this is the easy part, right? It's like I'm here, I'm not gonna, run someone over in the parking lot and act like nothing happened, right? I'm not gonna put my shopping cart, These are the same people that are talking about like how godly they are, the same people that can't put their shopping cart back in the shopping cart holder at Costco, right? It's like just 3 steps over. It's like they don't give a shit if they, rip the front end of your car off, as you battled for that parking space. It's like it just doesn't even make any sense to me, It's like, but that's just the way that it is to me. And I'm not saying it's everybody. I'm not saying that it's anything like that. I just think that Mother's Day, Father's Day, and Mother's Day, Father's Day, and Easter are the days to avoid Facebook at all costs. Those are the days. It's like, oh my God, it's like enough is enough,
I'm only here for the chocolate. Let's be realistic.
So basically, I got a refrigerator full of those eggs. They started selling them right after Christmas this year. I've eaten more of those things this year than any other year.
What, did you not get a solid chocolate bunny in your youth, and you're still holding a resentment about this? What's going on, man?
Who, me? It's no. Like I said, it's all about hypocrisy and consistency. And it's like you can't all of a sudden be this, son of God or whoever you think you are, or like this. All of a sudden, you're this religion unscathed, perfect person, because you type a few sentences on Facebook or post a meme. It's like you're not that person because you do that. It's the other 364 days of the year, right? It's the other 364. It doesn't come down to this one where you're dressed in your Sunday best. It comes down to the other time and how you treat and how you are with people in general, and how you carry yourself and run your life. Far be it from me to ever say that I'm perfect in any way at anything, right? But whether you met me when I was 5 years old, whether you met me when I was 20 years old, whether you met me when I was in my 40s, like all you guys have, you've consistently gotten the same person. Maybe I don't do the same things. Maybe I don't, maybe some of my beliefs have changed. And, it's just, that's called getting older, But I still am consistent, I'm still consistent. I don't make a judgment as to what is okay and what's not okay. It's like, and say, well, it's okay if you do business with this person. I don't want to do business with anyone that does business with this person, unless it's this person, this. It's like, right? There's no unless, It's like it's consistent, It's either yes or no. It's not, It is what it is, and I don't sit there and act like I've done nothing wrong if I've done something wrong. If I'm wrong about something, believe me, I've had the apologies. I mean, even when I was out drinking, I mean, how many times do you call your friends and say, I don't know what happened last night, but hey, and it's cool, right? It's all good. Everyone says I don't even remember what the hell happened, right? It's like, but always consistent with that, and not like I don't act like I didn't do anything wrong if I clearly have, And it's like stealing and things like that. I mean, I'm the guy who goes back to the grocery store when they give me 2 books of stamps, and instead of one, and returns the other book. I'm that idiot. But
We're all human. That's
right,
all
yeah, we're all human, but it's like I always say, don't pick a day out of the year to act like you're not who you are. You are who you are. And it's like, a happy Easter with a picture of family is great. When you start getting into this, thing, well, maybe you should think about paying your fucking parking tickets. Anyways, let's change the subject here a little bit, and we will get into the football portion of the show, where we do the NFL draft. Of course, tomorrow is Mitch Monday, where I do the show myself, kind of talk about other stuff out, kind of about the websites in the business. Just doing it while there's nothing going on, and I still don't see any updates as to what's going on. But we're on the Dallas Cowboys here at pick number 17. Steve is a Dallas Cowboys fan. It's what do you want to see and what do you think you'll see here. So there's the two things. For me, Cowboys are a team that needs some help for sure. This is a team that was missing a lot of. They're a team that had their chances and never were able to really take advantage of it. What were the Cowboys missing? That made them a playoff team and not a playoff team, and it's Cole Beasley is the player that was missing. So Ruggs is available; he's my guy for the Cowboys. Anyways, Steve, go ahead.
Yeah, again, there's a lot of needs. If there is one of the top receivers that slipped down to 17, like a Ruggs or Judy's going to be gone, obviously. CD Lamb, I think, may have a chance to slip down to 17. So wide receiver is a need. Randall Cobb just left. Tavon Austin was a bust in the slot. So that's a need. Defensively, Robert Quinn left. He's headed to Chicago. We got DeMarcus Lawrence on one side. You got Mike Nolan as our new defensive coordinator, so I'm sure he's going to have a say in the draft. That being said, Calabon, this Chiazon kid from LSU on the defensive end, I could see him lining up opposite DeMarcus Lawrence. And the other need is corner. Byron Jones left. I think he went to Miami. So there's a hole there. I was a couple weeks ago thinking Xavier McKinney for the Cowboys, but they signed Clinton Dix, in free agency. I love Xavier McKinney, by the way, but if I'm going to take a pick here, I'm going to go with Chiazon, the defensive end from LSU.
Long gone, but go ahead, Rod. I had him going third. So if they get him there, I love the pick. Rod, who do you like?
I like the same one. I think Chiazon goes to the Cowboys too.
Chris?
Yeah, I have Chiazon going to the Cowboys as well. Fast edge rusher. It's like Steve said, they lost Robert Quinn to free agency. I think it's a perfect fit if he's down there at that point.
Yeah, I just don't think he's there. Like I said, if he is, if he is there, I don't really see it. You know what I mean? It's like I don't see how he's there. If he's there, like I said about Jerry Jeudy, there's been a GM that's seriously dropped the ball. Because this guy he has all the intangibles and pretty much everything.
But if we look back on our, even yesterday's preview that we're doing, a majority of the guys I think were selected have been offensive guys. I think there's a chance that he could be there.
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't see it. There's just not enough defensive guys out there that are the impact players. There's some secondary guys. I just think Chiazon is a top 5 pick, and it's like I think that he's been devalued here, and I think there are some teams that really are excited about that, and they're going to jump up and take him. So we're up with the Dolphins for their second pick, and a lot of people have a running back here picked for the Dolphins, but here's a team that traded, a running back that they're not going to get. We went over this with running backs. They're not going to get a running back that's as good as the running back that they traded for a 5th-round pick. So obviously they don't feel that there's first-round value in a running back. So it doesn't even make sense to me. The guy who I like as a Dolphin fan, just once again going for the guy who I want on the team. Obviously, if Chiazon is still there and we can get a number 2, number 3 overall pick for at 17, by all means we take him. But for me, it's Gross Matos from Penn State. Love this guy. Love him. And I think that this is a guy that doesn't get a lot of credit. And I think this is our type of guy. If you're a Dolphin fan, this is our type of guy. This is the guy that we've had. This is our A.J. Dewey. This is our guy. This is the guy who you plant him there, 10, 12 years later, you put him in the ring on. This is the guy. I don't even see how, once again, another guy that if he's gone off the board, if the Cowboys take him or if somebody else, who has half a brain, takes this guy over some of these other, CD Lambs and some of these other players out there, then you have found the jewel of the draft is this guy. Because played in a tough conference, played against tough teams, played big against the tough teams, didn't do the disappearing act, can play linebacker, fits perfect in the Florida's 3-4. This guy's the guy. Steve?
I think they go defense. They traded Minka Fitzpatrick, so I think you got a hole at safety, and then you're going to have the 2 best safeties most likely still available. I love Grant Delpit from LSU, but I tell you, the more I see the Xavier McKinney out of Alabama, I think this kid has got the whole package. So my pick for the Dolphins is going to be Xavier McKinney out of Alabama at safety.
Once again, the Dolphins had a safety. They had a guy, and they had an Alabama safety, and they had a better Alabama safety than this guy. And they felt he was expendable. So yeah, it's hard to replace guys that you've traded. For me, for the Dolphins, it's either an offensive or defensive lineman. Go ahead, Rod. Got his Dolphins hat on.
For me, I'm looking at I was saying, for me, McKinney is still on the board, but I think they probably go with an offensive lineman. They need some help there.
So the trade for the offensive lineman last year was Tunzel, who, remember, was supposed to be a 1 overall. Slipped to number 11 because he was wearing a bong face mask on draft day on Twitter.
Never a good look for draft.
No, I mean we're gonna call I'm consistent, like I said at the beginning of the show, and I'm gonna call it exactly the same. We're not gonna say, well, a picture that wasn't the most flattering or whatever. He was wearing a bong face mask, smoking weed on draft day. Obviously, somebody that had it in for him said, "I'm gonna expose this guy," just like people say to me, "Oh, you're whatever, come on, trash me, whatever." So I'm sure there's plenty of bong head face mask pictures of all of us out there. Most of us, and even those people who watch the show and are in our Facebook group or whatever. I'm sure if people wanted a bong head face mask picture of me, I'm sure there's some out there. You can probably contact some of my college friends. I'm sure they got something.
I'm sure there's an old Polaroid lying around somewhere.
I'm sure they do. I'm sure they do. Remember the flat camera, whatever it was called? It was like the flat one. Right? It's like one of those. It's like you
Thanks
take.
2 minutes.
It's like, what's he doing there? Looks like he's scraping the resin off of a pipe or something. It's like, I'm sure there's some hideous pictures out there of me. I know there are. Chris,
So
what are you thinking?
The Dolphins here take an offensive. I think they take Austin Jackson from USC. Offensive.
He's not a bad pick there. Chris?
Yeah, I have Austin Jackson as well. I think if you're gonna take a quarterback at 5 or 6, you're gonna want a guy that's gonna protect him, especially if it's Tua Tagovailoa. And we talk all about how USC had quarterback depth last year and how they always had this giant offensive line in front of them. Jackson was a part of that. He's quick. He's got good footwork. Cancel out speed rush. I really like Austin Jackson to the Dolphins here.
Got the Raiders up next. And the Raiders definitely made some big strides last year. They were competitive, but then we saw other games where they got just absolutely crushed. Most of those games were on the road. Of course, they moved to Vegas this year. They had the real chance to make a splash and get Tom Brady. They appeared to be in the race and in the hunt for it. But after hearing what Tom Brady had to say, it didn't seem like maybe they were all as interested as people believed that they were. Also, he didn't seem like he was as interested in moving his family to Vegas either, for even just the season to rent Jeter's Vegas place or whatever. I don't know,
Yeah.
But so, Chris, what are you thinking here for the Raiders?
For the Raiders, I think they go defense. I know they signed Corey Littleton and Nick Kwiatkowski in the offseason, but I think they take Kenneth Murray, linebacker at Oklahoma here. Just add some more depth to that linebacking group. He's one of the more consistent linebackers in the country over the last couple seasons.
Yeah, he's consistently getting run over. I'm going to tell you one thing right here, and I'm going to say something that I know it's I'm just stating the obvious to the world and to something that just seems to get ignored year after year after year in the NFL draft is that if you come from a defense that gives up 150 points a game, you're probably not as good as people think you are. And maybe you were good coming out of high school, and maybe you had this reputation that you carried all along. But I got to tell you, Oklahoma defenders, when they get to the NFL, unless you're like a giant defensive lineman like the Selman brothers or like
Tony Casillas or something like that.
Yeah, Gerald McCoy or something, right? You stink. I'm telling you. More busts on defense in the linebacker and secondary out of teams like Oklahoma, who, I mean, if they're in the championship playoff this year, I'm tapping out. We won't be covering that game. It's ridiculous. We're going to automatic the other team. People are going to be like, and Clemson versus Clemson. It's like, it's not even going to cover it. Hate your pick, Chris. Rod. I just don't even understand it, man. It's like the Giants picking up Blake Martinez. It's like, yeah, what I want is to see a running back that runs for 600 yards in a game against you. I mean, how many yards did the 49ers run on the Packers for in that playoff game? I mean, how many yards did they run on them for? It's like, and you signed two of their linebackers. It's like, well, we didn't want to give up the full 600. We figured if we get two of the three, we only give up 400 yards a game. It's like, it doesn't even make sense. It's like, I mean, did Oklahoma have this stout run-stuffing, defense? I mean, did they create any disruption at all to the passing game? I mean, did they Kansas State put up frickin' 60 on you? It's like, imagine what Aaron Rodgers is going to do to you. It's like, I don't even get it. Chris, you're off the show. Rod, who do you like here? I'm insulted.
For me, I think they take Jalen John from Utah, quarterback.
Yeah, I have him off the board already, but I like that pick too. I think this guy's going to be good. Steve?
I'm going to go with the best value being, again, I'm going by, what I'm projecting here. If Grant Delpit is still on the board, I think he's the best value at that point. And they signed Jeff Heath from the Cowboys, but, that's just a filler there. I'm going to go with Grant Delpit. I think if he's available, that's the best player value at 19. And regardless of position, the Raiders, need a lot of help. I'll go with Grant Delpit with the Raiders.
I'm going to go with Jeff Gladney from TCU here. I just think that John Gruden, I think that people like the Alabama players, but I think generally what we see from Alabama players and why they don't have, a lot of them don't have as much success in the NFL is they kind of do reach their peak while they're at Alabama. Saban coaches them, takes them to as far as they can go. There are certain guys that go beyond that, the Julio Joneses, I think even Mark Ingram, Derrick Henry, who at least, show growth at the next level. It doesn't happen right away for these guys usually, but I think that I think that John Gruden knows that too, and I think that a guy like Jeff Gladney, who played in a conference where all they do is throw, this guy has had he's had a million balls thrown his way. It's like, I think he's probably a pretty good player. Go to the Minnesota Vikings at number 20. They trade away Diggs. I don't even understand this. I never understood a lot of these things, and it's like
the Vikings, Jags. The Vikings got this pick or the Jags?
Yeah, I thought it was the Jaguars.
I think it's the Jags. 20. Yeah.
I thought Minnesota traded to Jacksonville.
Oh, let me see.
They may have.
No, maybe not. So it's Jaguars. Jacksonville Jaguars.
Okay, good. I was like, uh-oh. Did I do something wrong? What's going on?
Who do you like?
Yeah, I think this was the trade from the Jalen Ramsey deal.
Yep. Who do you like for the Jaguars?
You're right. Yeah.
Steve, who do you like?
Well, Chris just said the magic name, Jalen Ramsey. So they traded Jalen Ramsey, and I think they got a need at corner. I'm going to go with Christian Fulton. So I think at corner, there'll be a run of corners, in the mid, to late first round. I think that's a need. AJ Bowie, I think, is gone too. I mean, you're going to get the value of a Jalen Ramsey, obviously not, but that's a need. So I'm going to go with Christian Fulton, LSU, as a corner. That's my pick.
Rod?
I think the Jaguars here take a linebacker. Give me. I think they take Patrick Queen here, guy from LSU. Going to be an absolute beast.
LSU corner is generally pretty good.
Yeah.
Except for Maurice Claiborne. Anyways.
You had to bring up Morris Claiborne. Thank you.
Hated that pick on the day they took him, and still.
And we traded up. We traded up to get him too.
Chris,
Yeah, I think the Jags go Patrick Queen as well. I think they need to rebuild that whole defense.
I think they take Jordan Love here if he's on the board, and I think that the Jags continue the hunt at quarterback. This is the team that brought us Blaine Gabbert, Blake Bortles. They're some of the worst drafting team that you'll ever see. Tom Coughlin gone from Jacksonville, so now there's not even any discipline there at all, either. So this could go in a number of different directions, and I'm not sold on the Gardner Minshew experiment at all. And we've seen the Jags reach at quarterback a lot. I think Jordan Love would actually, at this spot, would be less of a reach than any of the quarterbacks they've gone for in the last 15 to 20 years since Mark Brunell.
That's not a bad pick there, Mitchell.
Philadelphia Eagles in at 21. Vikings. No.
Eagles.
Eagles at 21. Nelson Aguilar gone, so they don't have him to blame for dropping passes anymore. Alshon Jeffrey's already on the IR, probably. This is a team that won the Super Bowl a couple of years ago, but as it happens with Super Bowl winning teams, guys want to leave, get more money elsewhere, and you're kind of left with the other guys. And, you try and replace them. But the Eagles have kind of gotten old fast, and Doug Peterson's act is getting old fast. So Carson Wentz, not one of my favorite players, that's for sure. But the Eagles did make the playoffs last year. I don't know. To me, it's they have some quality players on this team, but still some big holes. Chris, what do you think for the Eagles here?
And for the Eagles, I think you mentioned it. Alshon Jeffrey can't stay healthy. Aguilar's gone. It's only a matter of time before Deshaun Jackson's not there either anymore. I know you said he's gone off your board, but I think they take Justin Jefferson at LSU. Tall, athletic, good set of hands. He can be their number one receiver within a year or two. So I take Justin Jefferson to this spot.
How about you, Rod?
I think they take a wide receiver here as well, but I don't think it's Justin Jefferson. I think they take Denzel Mims from Baylor.
Mims has good. He's a good run blocker too, and generally, Philly, even though they've changed things, they have kind of gone to a little bit of a dink and dunk type of stuff going on there. I kind of like Jonathan Taylor in this spot if he's there. Doesn't really, all the same type of reasons. But I know they need a wide receiver, but maybe they think the draft is deep enough that they can get some of their guys later on. T. Higgins is still on the board as far as we're concerned. There's a lot of guys out there, a wide receiver. So not as many running backs. So I think maybe Jonathan Taylor if he's there. If not, I don't know. I would take a quarterback if I were them, but they're not going to do that. Steve?
Nah, I'm with Chris 100%. I had Justin Jefferson listed there. Again, same reasons. Aguilar, Jeffrey can't stay healthy. Deshaun Jackson, he's good for 3 or 4 games before a pulled hammy or something. Justin Jefferson's got the size. He ran a 4.4340. He's got speed. I think that's a good fit. But to your point, if T. Higgins is there, there could be a receiver that, they like better. But to me, Justin Jefferson makes sense for the Eagles there.
Rod? He took Mims. Right? Oh, no, that's Minnesota.
Yeah.
No, that was Minnesota.
Yep.
For Eagles, who do you got?
For Minnesota?
No,
I'm
Eagles.
confused. The Eagles. I took the Eagles. Mims.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's what Mims.
That's right. Okay, so Minnesota's up. I have Mims going here. I know that there's a lot of different guys. Could be T. Higgins. Obviously they're going to need a wide receiver, but they need a quarterback too. So, if they're in that quarterback, if the quarterbacks are coming off the board, I wouldn't be shocked to see a quarterback come off the board here in Minnesota either. Another team that quietly needs a quarterback. They did beat the Saints in the playoffs. They have Dalvin Cook. He was banged up a lot. So I think they fill in that running back spot later on in this draft, get a backup, a better backup for Dalvin Cook. I think that, but you got to replace Diggs because he was the guy. He kind of was your bailout without Kirk Cousins. So maybe T. Higgins here if he's there, or Mims. I think Jordan Jefferson's way gone. I had him before CeeDee Lamb, right? So I have him way gone. But there's also Brandon Ayuk from Arizona State, who is another guy that a lot of people love.
Right.
Steve, who do you like here?
I think, again, there's a run on corners. I think Minnesota, Trey Waynes and Xavier Rhodes, I think they're gone. I think there's a need there. Zimmer's a defensive guy first and foremost. I'm going to go with Trevon Diggs, a cornerback out of Alabama. There's a need there for the Vikings.
Chris?
Yeah, I think they take a wide receiver here, and it's a name that we didn't mention, but I think they take Laviska Shenault out of Colorado. I think he's a big receiver, fast on the outside. He could take some of the pressure off of Adam Thielen, and I just think he didn't get as much credit because he was dealing with injuries over the last couple of years, but he also had Steven Montez thrown to him, which was enough of a hindrance in its own right. So I think if Kirk Cousins, obviously a big step up from that, I think he can sort of bring some of the better parts of Shenault out, and I think he may be a viable number 2 in that offense.
He's definitely moving up, but he certainly did not have the numbers at Colorado. But he had Steven Montez, so I guess you can give him somewhat of a pass. I think that I don't know. Rod, what do you think here for the Vikings?
I think Vikings take a wide receiver. I got T. Higgins going here.
I wouldn't be surprised to see Antoine Winfield go here either from Minnesota. Kind of, we're into that part of the draft. And next up is the New England Patriots, 12-4 last season, #1 defense. They lost a bunch of guys from that defense. Offense, 17th in the NFL. It's not typical Patriot numbers, but it's we all know they didn't give Tom Brady a ton to work with at wide receiver last year. They pretty much sold their soul to try and get him help, and that didn't work either. Tried bringing in Josh Gordon, they tried bringing in Antonio Brown. It's like when you start saying those types of names, it's basically we'll do whatever we have to do, to get a wide receiver. But now with Tom Brady gone, the rebuild has to truly begin, at least on the offensive side of the ball. I don't think Stidham is the guy. I've seen him at Baylor. I think he might be serviceable, but I think what Patriot fans are going to find out in a hurry is that this guy's a career backup at best. on his best.
He's an Auburn kid, not Baylor. So
Well, he was originally at Baylor, and then he went to Auburn.
Okay.
But he is a backup at best type guy. He's not an NFL starter. He might not even be an NFL backup. Do the Patriots try and trade up? They're definitely generally movers in the draft. The Patriots are generally guys that move around the board in the draft a lot and start stockpiling picks. So I wouldn't be surprised if their guy isn't here or if they haven't traded up, that they trade out. But I don't know. They got to be thinking if one of the quarterbacks is there, they take one of them. If not, I don't know. I wouldn't even know where to go. Chris, what are you thinking for the Patriots?
It's which need do you feel the most? And I will concede it. As a Patriots fan, we do need a new quarterback. But at this point, I think they'll try to take the best players still on the board and go for a quarterback later in the draft, maybe a third round, maybe pick up a Jake Fromm or something of the like. But I think at 23, I think they take Xavier McKinney. I think they fill one of the holes they lost on defense, and they'll try to do what they normally do and scour the later rounds for their diamonds in the rough. But for the 23rd pick, I think they go Xavier McKinney.
Rod, what do you think? I mean, Belichick loves Alabama guys. So.
Yeah, I was just going to say the Saban-Belichick pipeline is always open.
Real big possibility they trade this pick to move up to get a quarterback. Real big thing. But if they don't,
I think they try and trade it to move up. But I think if they can't, I think they trade it out and move down.
They trade it out.
If Love's not there or something.
Yeah.
I still don't think Love is the future here in New England either. Trust me on that one. I don't think this guy's anything, surefire, home run by any stretch of it.
He's got Paxton Lynch written all over him.
He kind of does have a little Paxton Lynch in him. And like Chris said, there's some other quarterbacks there like Fromm and, who are winners,
Yeah.
My pick here is I they stay right where they are. I think they trade something down the line and get their quarterback. I'm going to say they take Zach Bond here, from Wisconsin, linebacker. I think he's a good fit here for the New England style of play.
I think he fits too, kind of,
He's versatile.
I generally will get guys that you can't believe are still on the board, or that guys that make sense, like the Sonny Michel pick. It was kind of like it wasn't like before he got picked that people were like, oh man, you got to take Sonny Michel here, but then taking him there was kind of like, wow, that's a pretty good pick. There's a guy with a lot of that could really be a difference maker. And he wasn't necessarily a guy that people had pegged for the Patriots that year either. I don't know. I think that there's just a lot of different ways to go here.
I'm going to go with A.J. Epinesa from Iowa, defensive end. It's kind of like Chiason, productive-wise. There's glaring holes now on defense and offense we've talked about. I don't think that, first round. I don't think there's a first-round quarterback there that New England would be all in on right now. So there's a lot of holes. I'm going to go with Epinesa from Iowa as a force at defensive end.
Yeah, I think either that or maybe they go to the offensive line, like they traditionally have done. So there's a couple different choices here. Josh Jones out of Houston. There's Jackson if the Dolphins don't take him. There's a few other guys. But they definitely need some help on offense, no doubt about it. And I don't think any of I don't think any of us are all that convinced that I don't think any of us are convinced that the Patriots are going to be making this pick. This is really the general consensus here. We move on to the next pick, and it's the New Orleans Saints. And this is a tough one because, the Saints, they went out and they replaced Eli Apple, right? So it's like that was their big glaring hole. They went out and replaced them. And then, this is a team that the last 2 years could have easily gone to the Super Bowl from the NFC. And they're over. And last year's loss to Minnesota I would say, was even worse than the Rams loss. The Rams loss, they were in it. And, the last 3 years, right? I mean, really the last 3 years. They had the game against the Vikings at the Metrodome that they lost on the last play. Then the next year they lose to the Rams on the pass interference that wasn't called. And then the next year they just lose to the Vikings again at home. They get handled. Basically a game that they were never in. I don't know. This is one of the best teams in football. Drew Brees is kind of getting on there. They have Thomas. They have solid players, but Drew Brees seems to always do better when he's got when he had Darren Sproles. He was never as good. I mean, when Kamara had the breakout rookie year, but Kamara, his numbers came down in a hurry too. Where do the Saints go? 4th in offense, 11th in defense. They kind of had their guys, right? Kind of have had their chances. It's like there's only so many chances you're going to get. The Saints are hoping to squeeze one more. Chris, who do you got for the New Orleans Saints?
I think there could be a couple possibilities here. I think they could trade this pick for maybe a team like Miami or Baltimore is trying to move up, maybe get a running back. I'm also reading that the Saints are trying to piece together the story on Jordan Love. They're really doing their homework on him, but for the sake of right now, I'm going to stick with my pick. I think they're going to take Ross Blacklock, defensive tackle out of TCU. I think they're going to put him next to Cameron Jordan on the defensive line, bolster the middle of the pass rush. Quick defensive lineman can disrupt the backfield. It's strong, so I think they take Blacklock at 24 here.
I like Patrick Queen in this spot for LSU local product. I know you guys have him off the board, but I like him here.
I know. I got him going to the Saints.
I got him here. It's like they lost Klein. It's like they lost Anzalone. Anzalone is always hurt. It's like they had Sam Mills there, kind of undersized guy for years. So it kind of fits. I don't know. To me, that's.
I have Kenneth Murray going here in linebacker.
I also think Patrick Queen, if he's still available, that's a typical New England type of player too. So I could see him also being a possibility for the Pats to pick before.
I'll tell you, Matos, if he's still there, is the typical Pats type guy too.
Yeah,
but New England had the number one defense last year. I know they lost some players from that team, but I don't know. I think we're going to see the Patriots take some steps back here. I think we are. I think they know it, and the writing's been on the wall for a while. I think that the fact they were able to make it last year, I mean, they backed into the home playoff game. They had a chance to have home field advantage throughout and couldn't close the deal. When's the last time you saw New England do that? It's like move on. Minnesota Vikings. They got some holes on defense. I still, once again, not sold on Kirk Cousins, and I could see Fromm here as well. But Xavier Rhodes is gone, and you got to replace him somehow, or at least take a shot at it. Chris, who do you got for the Vikings? Oklahoma cornerback?
No, this is where I had.
Let's pick out a corner that gave up 700 touchdowns in his career.
Almost, but no, I think this is where Gross Matos falls. I think, the Vikings are going to look for a replacement for Everson Griffin. That was a drama story for the last couple of years. And they're just looking to move past. I think Gross Matos is a high upside guy that fills that void perfectly. And I think his production last year was only hampered because they moved him to nose tackle, and it's not his natural position. He's better on the outside. So I think this is where Gross Matos goes to the Vikings at 25.
I have him long gone, but Rod, who do you like here?
I like A.J. Terrell, quarterback here. I think Minnesota picks him up here at 25th.
Makes a lot of sense. They have no secondary. Steve?
No.
I got T. Higgins still available on my board, wide receiver. I think that's good value there.
Because you didn't have him taking anything. You didn't have him taking a wide receiver at the other pick.
No, I had him taking a defensive back in their first round.
Yep. So I think they just go for the best available corner. Whether it's Diggs, whether it's maybe they trade up for a corner and one of those others with they have the picks. I'm just not really sure, but I just think that it's got to be a cornerback. It could even be Bryce Hall out of Virginia Tech. Could be, Move on, and we're back to the Miami Dolphins picking again. This is the pick they got for Tunzel. One of the picks. I believe they got 2 number ones for Tunzel. And this is one of them. The Houston Texans, who kind of went all in. But the Dolphins, this is a team that's needed a lot of help. I don't love the pickups that they've had. People are talking about some of the free agent pickups that they had. They had a ton of money to spend, but to me, I didn't love their pickups. I still think that every position is going to be available here for the Dolphins. I think trading out of this spot is not going to be out of the realm, especially if there's some of those other really, really good players. But I think if the Dolphins pick here, maybe this is where they think about a running back, and I can only hope that it's Dobbins and not Swift.
That's where I have him. I hope it's Dobbins too. That's who I have going here. J.K. Dobbins to the Dolphins.
That's what I like. Steve?
That's not a bad pick, actually, but I like Chris's point earlier about, again, if they go all in on Tua and
I was waiting for you to say, yeah, Oklahoma linebackers are the top 20 pick is a great idea.
My God.
I really like the idea of taking an Oklahoma linebacker. Brian Bosworth really had a hell of a 2 years run.
I love Austin Box here from Oklahoma. But to Chris's point, if they go in on quarterback, which most likely will with the early pick in the draft, I would say an offensive lineman would definitely be a solid pick here. I'll go Josh Jones, Houston, or Austin Jackson if he's still there. I see offensive lineman here. So, but if I got to pick one, I'll go with Joshua Jones.
I could live with that, but I think the Dolphins are it is a different regime, but as a Dolphin fan, traditionally, if it is an offensive lineman, this is where they take a guard. It's like, this is where you take, Roy Foster.
Yeah.
Larry Little.
Yeah.
Larry Little wasn't drafted by the Dolphins, but Foster certainly was.
Yes, he was.
Nothing wrong with Foster.
He was a good player.
I will say this: if the words Oklahoma linebacker didn't get me kicked off the show, this might. I think the Dolphins go with DeAndre Swift here. I just think that I like Jonathan Taylor ahead of Swift, but Swift just seems like the guy that's going to be the first running back taken off the board for me. Seems like an every down back for Miami, and I know it's not the best way to get longevity out of these guys, but Swift just seems like the top back that goes off the board for me.
It's our comedy version of today's Easter version of the NFL Draft Part 2.
I'm a sit-down comedian, not a stand-up.
Really? It's like...
I have a notepad here of everything that you don't like, and I'm just reformatting my draft to make sure that I fill all the needs on the checklist.
This is like where you would have been, since Trubisky was gone, it's like, I would have been like, oh.
This is Henny Youngman. Take an Oklahoma linebacker, please.
This is like, it was like when they were talking about Trubisky being the top quarterback in the draft. It was like, what game did I miss? Tell me the game. Tell me the season I missed, because I don't see this. It's like, I know Mitch Trubisky. I've seen Mitch Trubisky. It's like, I don't see this. It's like, oh, it's going to be great. It's like, same thing with Goff. What Goff did you guys see? I missed this. I missed this. All right. I just, I don't know, Chris. Just don't know where your head is these days.
I really hope the Dolphins plus 1,100 as the first running back is way better than minus 210 for Swift. That's what I'm hoping for. Come on. We'll take that Swift bum.
Speaking about running backs, here's a team that's gone running back quite a bit. But this is a team that's had some running back issues. They have good running backs on the roster, but none of them are ever playing at the end of the season. The Seattle Seahawks. They have Rashad Penny, who I think is going to be a superstar, a pick that I loved at the time, and a pick that last year it looked like it was going to be dead on until he got injured. Seahawks, once again, kind of never make it look pretty. It's like, if there's going to be a team that wins by 2, it's Seattle, right? It's like they're in more 18-16 games than probably anybody in the history of football at any level. But here they are drafting at 27, 14th in offense, 17th in defense. That great Seattle defense of years past, kind of not there anymore. Clowney is still not signed by anybody. He's still out there. What does Seattle do here? It seems they have some good targets at wide receiver. It seems that if they're healthy at running back, they're good. But this Seattle also has the most undrafted players of any team out there, so they don't care as much about the draft as some of the other teams. But they know they're going to have to pay this guy. So where do they go? Chris? Baker Mayfield?
No, I think the Seahawks have done a good job addressing a lot of their offseason stuff that they had to address. But I think they still need another defensive tackle. So I'm going to take. I think they'll take Justin Matabuki out of Texas A&M. He's explosive defensive tackle. The problem is that he's had a ton of off the field issues. And I think playing for a guy like Pete Carroll, it might straighten him out, and that's at least my hope for this pick. So I'll take Justin Matabuki out of Texas A&M.
I think the thing about him is that you have to remember that Texas A&M played the loaded of loaded schedules. So he's played against the best out there. They played Alabama, they played Clemson, they played LSU, they played pretty much everybody. Rod, who do you like?
I think they take a defensive tackle here as well. I think they go with Ross Blacklock from TCU.
Certainly don't mind that pick. Gary Patterson generally gets the...
It'd be nice if they get Clowney to stay there too. That'd be a nice line. That's deep. If they can convince Clowney to stay as well. Woo.
What do you think, Steve?
I agree with Chris and Rod's philosophy, obviously. I only got Jonathan Taylor on my board as the only running back on. I have him going to the Bucks in like the top 10, 9 or so. So if Swift and Dobbins are still there, and it's been a running back by committee in Seattle, and if you got Dobbins, I'm going to pencil Dobbins going to Seattle.
We got Raekwon Davis here from Alabama. They've done pretty well with Alabama defensive tackles at Seattle, so why not? Why not go back to the well? I mean, you got a 311-pounder here, so you plug him in there. Hopefully, nobody notices, and he can stay on the roster, and it doesn't demand a boatload of money in a few years. And that's really the best we can hope for there. But as we continue to move down the draft board, and you can see, how difficult this gets, and how it isn't so black and white, because when people are looking at drafts, it's kind of like, oh, this is pretty black and white. But when you start to see already, on our board, where we have people going, it makes it, and now we get to the Baltimore Ravens, who really were the best team in the NFL last year, even though they did not make it to the Super Bowl. They were the best team out there. Week to week, week in, week out, they were the team to beat. Teams are going to come up with schemes to try and stop Lamar Jackson, but here's a place where a guy who maybe is a little bit of a project, but still first-round talent, can go. And that's why I think the Ravens have a little more flexibility than everybody else, because they have good tight ends. They've got good wide receivers. They've got good everything. Chris, who's your project that's going to the Baltimore Ravens?
I don't even know if I would put the project tag on him, but that's where I think Jonathan Taylor goes. I think Mark Ingram's starting to get up there in age, and Taylor can be groomed as the running back of the future for the Ravens. And you put him with Lamar Jackson, that receiving corner of the tight ends, and you have probably the most stacked offense in the NFL. So I'll take Jonathan Taylor here at 28.
Yeah, I think Dobbins is a better fit of those guys if he's there. But that's just me. Steve?
Like you said, the Ravens were the best team overall, so they could really go anywhere. But on the running backs, so I got Taylor gone now, and I got Dobbins going to Seattle, and that would leave Swift. And I like Chris's point that Ingram, has a lot of miles on the tires right now. And so I'm going to go with Swift here. DeAndre Swift.
I think Swift makes some sense, but he's not, It's kind of, they have, the way that they do it is that Lamar Jackson is kind of the scat back, and then they have Gus Edwards and Ingram, kind of like everyone else is kind of the bowling ball style. And so do they want if they go in the direction of a Swift, is it saying that they don't want Jackson to run as much, and that would be a big mistake. That would be kind of like the Bears telling Trubisky to throw more. I mean, God, it doesn't even make any sense to me. It's like that was the only chance he had. Was to not throw as much as possible. Rod, who do you got here for the Ravens?
I'm not going to take. I don't think they're taking a running back here. I'm going to go with Cesar Ruiz, offensive lineman for Michigan. Still 20 years old. Nice run blocker, big wide guy. That's who I think they take right here.
I think that traditionally the Ravens go for a guy that you've heard of. That's what they traditionally have gone for in the draft is a guy that you've heard of. It's like when Ozzie was running the draft, it was always, the Ravens and the Bengals are generally teams that you can look at their draft list and you can say, I heard of this guy before. But I still think even though they picked up Calais Campbell, they still need a pass rusher. Calais Campbell. I mean, he's been around for a while now, and I think that they look for a pass rusher. And Could be Zach Bond from Wisconsin. Could be, maybe Betos is there. I think it's somebody like that, or Curtis Weaver from Boise. Is a type of a guy that fits in there as well. Just any of those guys that can just pure pass rusher type guy, and it's kind of like when Seattle took Irvin, and everyone was like, "I can't believe they took this guy. All he does is rush the passer," and it's like, man, you know what? They picked him at 14, and having a guy that 16 sacks isn't such a bad thing to have. It's like all of a sudden it was like maybe it was yeah, he only plays he's only a one down player, yeah, but if he does more on his one down than everybody does on all the rest of them, and I think I think Weaver is that type of guy here for them. So I think he makes a lot of sense for them. He's a beast. 13 and a half sacks in 14 games in Boise. And that's I think that's this is a team that can afford a luxury item, and I think that is a luxury item. It's a nice toy to have, for sure. Move down the draft board. We hit the Tennessee Titans. Man, you want to talk about a team that really overachieved late. It was the Titans. It's despite making it to the AFC Championship game, they still had some clear weaknesses. Obviously, they're running the ball really, really well. Ryan Tannehill is now the future at quarterback. That's never a good thing.
Nope.
Was he a one-hit wonder? Because he never had a season even remotely close to that before, but he also never had a running game like that before. I don't know. It's kind of like they 10th in offense, 14th in defense, 27th in special teams. Chris, who's left from Oklahoma for it? Save the day.
This is where I think they kind of add to the defense. I think they take AJ Epinesa out of Iowa. Cameron Wake was a short-term solution, but even he got injured for the Titans last year, and I think Epinesa could be a more long-term solution for the Titans on the pass rush. So I think they take him at 29.
Steve?
I'm going to go offense wide receiver to give Tannehill an extra weapon.
They caught lightning in a bottle last year, wide receiver, so why not?
Good, but this Brandon Ayuk from Arizona State is a pretty good available receiver there. So, another weapon. I mean, as long as Derrick Henry stays healthy, he's getting the ball. But they could go defense, like you said. But I'm going to go with Ayuk wide receiver as a little toy.
Rod?
And for me, I think the Titans need to replace Jack Conklin here at right tackle, and I think they take Josh Jones from Houston. I know he played on the left side, but I think he's a good fit here. Incredible athletic for his size, and I think he goes here.
I think all those guys make sense, and I think, like we said, this is a team that could use a little help on both sides of the ball. With Ryan Tannehill there, though, it's man, you gotta figure out a way. Derrick Henry, you're gonna run him into the ground or not. It's like if you run him the way you ran him last year, he's got a year or two left. You have to figure, but I guess you can't play that way. Maybe you go with something a little bit more conservative, something more towards what your identity is with your coach, and it's so hard, just a really, really hard spot here. I think they go for a reach. Go AJ Terrell from Clemson. He had a lot of bad ink late in the season. He got roasted by Jefferson. That was the deal. Move on. I think Terrell is rated about 100th on most boards, but you're going to see him go a lot higher than most people expect him to be. We got the Green Bay Packers, 9th in offense and 6th in defense. It certainly didn't look like that on the field.
Exactly.
They lost. They got run over on defense twice. They got railroaded in San Francisco. And, you have some serious decisions to make here. You need an offensive tackle badly, but you also need linebacker help and safety help. You need help all over the place. Where do you go, Steve?
Actually, this is where I think Jordan Love may actually be a fit for the Pack. A project, a quarterback that, like you said, with the numbers on offense and defense, and I agree, it was all smoke and mirrors till, San Francisco, kicked the crap out of them in the playoffs. But I can see Jordan Love here being selected and, sit on the bench for a couple of years so Rodgers, packs it in. So
I could see Rodgers throwing an absolute nutty if they do.
Is he fit?
I could see.
What kind of threat would that be to him? Nothing. But you're saying what? They didn't give him another weapon to win now would probably be the only argument.
I think his argument is that why do we need another quarterback if I'm the future of this organization?
Yeah.
Who of the when you give a guy Geronimo whatever as his wide receivers and you still I don't know. I don't see it. Rod?
Okay.
I think they're going to take a wide receiver here. I just don't know who. I'm torn between two.
Yeah, it's who's available. There's going to be a lot of wide receivers on the board.
There's a few that are left at this point. You got Snow Jr. I got Ike, Mims. I think they take a wide receiver. It's like you said. If they don't, someone won't be very happy.
They haven't had a wide receiver for Aaron Rodgers. They've won, right? And it's like he goes down, and it's like they've got nothing. Same thing with running back, right? They got nothing.
For once, you should try to help your quarterback. But probably not.
Yeah, well, my answer, if I'm the general manager of the Packers, my answer is to that. Take a deferred salary or a pay cut, and then we can help you all you want.
Yeah.
When you make $45 million a year and the salary cap is 46, you're not going to get any help. Pretty much how it works.
That's exactly.
You're getting this guy to catch the ball for you.
Geronimo Allen or whatever his name is, right?
Same.
Hiawatha Francisco.
I think Notre Dame had a running back like that, right?
Yeah, Hiawatha Francisco.
Hiawatha Francisco. Exactly right. Forgot about him.
Leave it to me to pull out the Hiawatha Francisco.
I think that was there in the Faust era.
Sounds like a Faust guy. Chris?
Right.
Well, speaking of Notre Dame, I think this is where Chase Claypool goes. I think, like I said, Green Bay needs some help at wide receiver as well. You can't leave Devontae Adams do it on his own. Claypool's got big build, 6'4", 240. Strong receiver, can pick up yards after the catch. I really think I like Claypool in this offense. I'll take Chase Claypool at number 30.
In fact, that's a good pick, actually. I think that's spot on.
I think it's a little high.
Claypool was productive at Notre Dame. He certainly was. And he's got the size, like Chris said, 6'4".
Yeah, in the Army game.
Right. I don't think so. Well, all season he was productive.
Let's take a look and see how productive Chase Claypool was.
Okay.
We'll look at his numbers.
I'm getting analyzed again.
Numbers, no. I'm with you on this one. I'm taking I'm going to take the heat too on this one.
Chase Claypool, 2019, 66 receptions, 13 touchdowns.
Okay. Keep going. There's nothing wrong with that.
Well, it's certainly not, it's 6 catches a game or less. It's 5 catches a game.
Okay.
So
We're talking now, what are we, pick 30 in the first round or something?
See if we can get better stats than this game by game.
I think he had a big bowl game, too, if I don't remember correctly. Right?
He had against so he had 7 receptions against Iowa State in the bowl game and 1 touchdown, 146 yards. He had 3 catches against Stanford, 7 against Boston College, 7 against Navy, 5 against Duke, 8 against Virginia Tech, 2 against Michigan, 3 against USC, 3 against Bowling Green, 6 against Virginia, 6 against Georgia in the loss, 4 against New Mexico, and 5 against Louisville. So he was kind of pretty even keeled across the board. He had 146 yards in that Iowa State game, but against Stanford and Boston College, 60 and 63. At 61 yards against Bowling Green, 47 against USC, 30 against Virginia, 66 against Georgia. I would say pretty mundane numbers. I go with Hiawatha, Francisco.
Of course you would.
I go with Mitch Trubisky. I don't know, man. I think that the Packers need a lot of help, and I think they go with the best running. If one of those 3 running backs, Jonathan Taylor, Dobbins, or Swift, are available, this is where you go. You give Aaron Rodgers some help. Jones is okay. He's not great. I think you go with if one of the name wide receivers, Denzel Mims, T. Higgins, Lamb, obviously Ruggs, something like that.
They're fair.
If something's there like that, you go there. If not, you go with the best linebacker available, as long as he's not from Oklahoma. Next pick, we go to San Francisco. This team disintegrated in the Super Bowl with a 10-point lead. Couldn't happen to a nicer guy than John Lynch. 8th in offense. I mean, if it's me, I'm trading up and taking the best quarterback I could possibly get, packaging, maybe another defensive lineman in my other first-round pick that I have, the pick that I got for Buckner from the Colts, and I'm drafting a real quarterback for my team. But Lynch, more than likely, is going to take some guy that where he outsmarted everybody. So it's probably going to be that Oklahoma linebacker that Chris said. That's who I have going here. Steve?
San Francisco, I believe it does not have a pick in the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th rounds. I'm pretty sure this year. So, they're going to have to, take the best available guy at this point.
Or trade out. I mean, this is a team that went to the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Or trade out.
Fromm and Eason are not off the table here either.
I was just gonna lead to like a Jake Fromm type where
Eason.
I think or Eason. I mean, Eason's a big kid, big strong arm. We talked about him. Can he overthrow it and throw it too hard? Yes, but I will go Jacob Eason here. Actually,
Jacob Eason's 6 yard like tight end curls over the middle. Remind me of Doug Williams.
Yep.
Where it's like, Doug Williams is a great quarterback, laser arm, but unfortunately he threw it the same power on a 6-yard pass and a 60-yard pass.
Yep. And here we are talking about Eason and Fromm, and both went to Georgia, and Fromm beat out Eason, and Eason transfers out, and now they most likely will be available, late 1st round, early 2nd round, and we'll see who's the first to go.
I think Jimmy Garoppolo. I they traded a ton to get him, and I think that it's going to cost them a ton to get out of it.
True.
And it's like it's one of those things where you kind of got to bite the bullet that maybe this isn't the guy.
Well, he's the guy for the foreseeable future. That's for sure.
Well, the thing is, with Garoppolo there, you have a chance for Eason to develop, which is something that he's never really had.
True.
He does have a cannon arm. You're getting what you get. You know.
So my pick's Jacob Eason here.
Chris?
Yeah, for the Niners, I think there's a name that came up earlier, but I think this is where they take Cesar Ruiz, center out of Michigan. Weston Richburg tore his tendon in his knee, and for an offensive lineman, that's not a good injury to have. He's a 3-year starter at Michigan. He can flip to guard if they need it. I think Ruiz gives the Niners some help on the O-line here, so I'll take him at 31.
Rod?
I think they take some sort of wide receiver here. Whoever is left on the board. This could go anyway. They could. There's a whole bunch of different
I think
guys
it's an interesting
to take.
spot for them too. I think I could see them taking some kind of wide receiver too, actually, in this spot. Like a Ruggs type, another guy that's a Ruggs type. You know, and I don't think it really matters. You know, where anybody else has them, because this is a team that they did make it to the Super Bowl and did have a 10-point lead with about 8 minutes left to go. But we saw that they were much more effective when it was once they got Sanders. Once they got Sanders, they were much more effective. And then now he's gone, so it could be Rager from TCU. Jalen Rager. He's like in that same mold, 5'10", 206, who can fly.
Sure.
That makes a lot of sense. So, leads us to the Chiefs. Did everyone give out their pick here for the Niners?
Yep.
Leads us to the Kansas City Chiefs, the Super Bowl champions. And this is a team that was down in both their playoff games and made comebacks. In the Super Bowl and in the AFC Championship game, they were down pretty big, made comebacks. Andy Reid has that certain style. He generally loves the little guys that can make moves in space or create space from not a lot of space. That's really a better way of putting it. And that's what's worked for him. He did have injuries on the defensive front. Chris Jones was injured a lot, but once he came back in, man, they were tough. They were really tough up front. So another team that probably has a little bit of a luxury here as far as picks go. And who we got for the Kansas City Chiefs? Chris?
Yeah, I'm a little bit late to the party on, but I think this is where Zach Bond falls. I think the Chiefs, one of their few needs is some help at linebacker. And I think he's got some great speed to help around the edge for the pass rush if need be. So I think this is where Zach Bond goes at 32 to the Chiefs.
Rod?
I think this is where Swift goes, and they pick up Swift right here. If he's still left on the board at this 32 pick.
Yeah, I mean, Damian Williams was a good, played well for them, but they never really recovered from the Kareem Hunt thing too well. Steve?
No.
I don't disagree with Chris's philosophy about Zach Bond, but I think offensive line and the defensive line need addressing. I was leaning towards Cesar Ruiz, the Michigan 3-year starter at center, but I'm going to go with I got Ross Blacklock from TCU to shore up the defensive line for depth, so I'm going to go with Ross Blacklock.
No, I think once again it's a luxury pick, so a few different guys that could go here. Definitely like the idea of a linebacker. Just I don't see anybody here on the board that's first round material. For a linebacker, but you are basically in the second round at this point. I think Ruiz makes a little bit of sense here. I think that Tyler Bidae's from Wisconsin, who plays guard and center. Reed likes stuff like that. Guys that are versatile, right? So it's definitely one of those type of picks. But I'm with you on pretty much all of them here. I think there's a lot of different ways that they can go, and it probably is one of those things where they'll look at some of the big fat contracts out there when they're due, and then they're going to say, here's a guy we can, to be a natural fill-in. But anyways, we covered all 32 picks of the first round here of the NFL draft over the last 2 days. Wish everyone a happy holiday. Those who are celebrating, those that made it through the whole draft, congratulations. We'll be live. I'll be live for the NFL draft first round at least here on our YouTube channels. If anyone wants to join me for part or all of it, you guys are more than welcome. But I'll sit here criticizing everybody's picks with no accountability whatsoever. Certainly my job won't depend on it. So I will see everybody tomorrow. It'll be Mitch Monday. I don't know what I'm going to talk about, but it'll just be me. The guys have the day off, and we'll see you then. Chris, Rod, Steve, thanks. It's been fun, and maybe we'll see some trades and maybe some more sports news. But, yeah, of course. Tristan, obviously a Vikings fan here. Oh, Sim picks. Chris, how did we do yesterday?
Cards won outright, so they easily covered the plus 10.5.
All right, I had the Cards.
Yeah.
Bills won.
I had the Bills. Did they cover?
Yeah, the Bills won 15-10.
How about the Cardinals?
Cardinals won outright as a 10.5 point dog, 25-13.
How about Patriots?
Patriots won 22-20.
Were they a dog in that game, right?
No, they were favored by 3.5, I believe.
Didn't cover?
Yeah, minus 3.5.
Yeah,
so they failed.
And the Saints beat the Ravens outright 28-25. All
right, so I was 3-1 yesterday.
Me too.
3-1. That takes me to 7-1, 10-2, 11-2. I'm 11-5.
14-2.
Rod is 14-2. Chris, what do we got today?
So at 1 Eastern, Buffalo Bills at Miami Dolphins.
Bills on a back-to-back.
Buffalo minus 7.5, over under 51.5. I like the
Dolphins.
I got the Dolphins.
Dolphins money line plus 310.
The penny doesn't pick the money line. We got the 7.5.
Yeah, I think the money line has a good chance on that one. 4 o'clock Eastern, Atlanta Falcons at Philadelphia Eagles. Falcons minus 3, over under 58.5.
I'm taking the Eagles money line.
I like the Falcons laying the 3.
You got the Eagles. Steve?
Eagles.
Simulated football here. What else we got, Chris?
7 o'clock, Super Bowl rematch, 49ers, Chiefs. Played on the Super Bowl setting, so it's going to be on a neutral site. So no home field. Chiefs minus 3.5, over under 60.5.
So who's the home team?
The Chiefs.
Who you got in this one, Rod? The 49ers.
49ers, money line.
Yeah. I got the 49ers also in this one. Steve?
Niners.
I like the Chiefs.
I can lose on the Niners again in the Super Bowl. Chris?
And then they got the Pro Bowl. AFC against NFC. NFC minus 3, over under 60.
Who's the home team?
NFC. I like the NFC.
Give me the AFC money line.
I got the NFC.
We're going all money line dogs today.
I like the NFC now. All right. I'll see everyone tomorrow. Chris will give us the recap, and these guys will put their picks in for tomorrow's games in the Facebook group, as they do on Mondays. And then we'll be back on Tuesday with the gang. Hopefully we have some updates, as to who's playing and when. It's got to happen soon. All right. Have a good Easter, everyone.
Happy Easter, everybody. Enjoy your day.
Eat some eggs. Chocolate ones.
Chocolate one.